As we've been reporting, President Trump toured a new immigrant detention facility today that he is calling Alligator Alcatraz. The name comes from the location in the Florida Everglades. The facility is surrounded by acres of swampland. It's being built on an airport about 50 miles west of Miami. Governor Ron DeSantis says the first detainees could arrive by tomorrow. However, a group of environmental organizations are suing to block the facility until it undergoes an environmental review.
We patently reject that assertion. We've seen the equipment moving into the site. We have now directly seen the light pollution that emanated from the site last night. We've been in touch with members of the Miccosukee tribe who are a few miles away. This area used to be some of the best dark skies in the southeastern United States. Now it looks like a stadium is out where this detention center is operating. And even on top of that, there's a reason that federal law requires government to look before it leaps, to make sure that its actions are not negatively impacting the environment. Under the National Environmental Protection Act, government has to conduct an environmental impact analysis. So if the governor would like to assert that, that's fine. Let's see the proof. Let's conduct this analysis. And we've asked a judge to issue an injunction so that activity at the site can be halted while we see what the impacts are on the environment. Remember, this is in the middle of Big Cypress National Preserve, which is part of the Everglades. The site itself is more than 96% wetlands. This is the drinking water supply for South Florida. There's also confirmation of the endangered Florida panther on the site and many other threatened and endangered species.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. It's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism, true crime, YouTube deep dive, YouTube video topic. Today I want to do the political topic of Pure Evil, the United States ICE Detention Centers Files Part 3, Deep Dive, Capitalism, Alligator Alcatraz, alligators and black history and racism, true crime, etc. So let's get started on this YouTube video topic. But before we get started, all my other YouTube videos I've done about part 1, part 2 of the ICE detention centers files are going to be on the screen right now, as well as other YouTube video topics that I've done that is really this topic right now. If you want to check those videos out, they're going to be on the screen right now. So let's get started on this YouTube video topic.
And I want to bring in the Florida and Caribbean director at the Center for Biological Diversity, Elise Bennett, for more on the environmental impact of so-called Alligator Alcatraz. Elise, thanks for coming on. I know you oversee the center's conservation work in Florida. So why are you so against this center's location?
Yes, well, we've filed a case to defend America's Everglades from a reckless and frantic attempt to build a mass detention center in the middle of one of our greatest natural treasures. We're incredibly concerned about the impacts of essentially building a new development in the middle of a preserve.
Now, you say the government violated the law by failing to properly analyze the damaging impacts to the environment from the center. So why couldn't you stop this in court?
So we actually do have a pending motion before the court that requests just merely a pause to stop activities so that the court can have an opportunity to review our allegations in the case, and so that no damage is done in the meantime. And so we look forward and are still hopeful that we can get that hearing, get a pause before things get any worse on the site.
Now, the Department of Homeland Security is calling that lawsuit lazy, saying the land has already been developed for a decade. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is also stressing that the center is temporary, located at a pre-existing airport, and he says it'll have no impact on the surrounding environment. What's your response to that?
Those claims are incredibly misleading. If it was already developed, they wouldn't be shipping out trailers, artificial lighting, sanitation, food services, fill material, restrooms. All of those things are things they're having to bring to the site. And that's because it was not well used before they decided to turn it into this immigration detention camp. And those are the exact things that give us such concern about our sensitive wetlands, our Florida panthers, who are already beleaguered by road deaths and will only be more at risk as more vehicles are coming on and off the site. This is a very remote area, and we're very concerned that every step they take to bring more people out there is just another dagger in the heart of the Everglades.
All right, Elise Bennett, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
The Trump administration hopes the threat of Alligator Alcatraz detention centers will encourage unauthorized migrants in the United States to self-deport. Donald Trump visited the new migrant detention center being built in a biodiversity-rich area that environmentalists like Marjoy Stoneman Douglas have worked to preserve. Women fought half a century ago to protect the Florida Everglades and wildlife from real estate land developers and big agriculture industry interests. Now a new generation of women environmental leaders, as well as other environmental groups, are trying to halt a new immigrant detention center concentration camp on an airstrip in the Everglades. Trump told reporters at the White House on Tuesday morning that the facility's location was meant to deter detainees from escaping to face venomous snakes and alligators. Florida Republicans are already marketing Alligator Alcatraz merchandise, including t-shirts, mugs, and stubby holders. The facility is a project of the Florida state government, led by Governor Ron DeSantis, and was constructed in about 8 days. It can house about 3,000 people and could start receiving detainees and prisoners within a day of Mr. Trump's tour. Cuba condemns opening of new prison for migrants in Florida. U.S. Alcatraz, Cayman. The Cuban government has described this detention center with a capacity for 5,000 migrants as a concentration camp, while questioning its impact on human rights. The opening of this detention center, located in a swampy and difficult-to-access area, reflects the xenophobic and anti-human rights policy of the U.S. government. The Caribbean island has repeatedly denounced U.S. imperialism throughout the years and U.S. immigration policies in which they say not only violate human rights, but also seek to weaken progressive governments in the region. Donald Trump's sadistic, psychopathic joke about alligators eating immigrants.
Alligator bait, black baby slaves, America Dark History. America Dark History. Did you know black children were once dehumanized as alligator bait? This racist trope promoted the idea of using black babies to lure alligators, a horrifying reflection of systemic oppression. In early 20th century America, postcards and illustrations depicted this barbaric imagery, turning human suffering into a grotesque joke. By 1919, the Florida Department of Agriculture condemned such ads, not for their inhumanity, but to protect the state's image and livestock industry. This chilling past reminds us why black communities continue the fight for reparations, demanding acknowledgement and accountability for centuries of exploitation. Reflect, explore history, share this story, and commit to understanding the legacies of injustice that shape our world today.
Has a long racist history behind it in the United States. During the tour, he made another joke about a lot of cops that are in the form of alligators at the facility. Allusions to the alligator bait were made a century ago during the Jim Crow era by racist propagandists about African Americans. Postcards from 1921, for example, labels black babies as alligator bait, and this blatantly racist 1908 article in the Washington Times tells the story of Pekingese, a racial slur used for black people, being used to lure alligators at a New York zoo. Zoo specimen coaxed to summer quarters by plump little Africans. The sub-headline reads on its website, "The Jim Crow Museum lists numerous other examples of racist imagery and editorials depicting black people, in many cases children, as bait for alligators." This propaganda was to dehumanize African Americans and train people to treat any violence melted out to them as harmless or even funny. That is a troubling precedent to keep in mind as the Trump administration plans to keep and begin sending immigrants to this hastily built concentration camp detention center. Damage from Alligator Alcatraz is already obvious, environmental groups say. Immigrants rounded up under Trump's massive deportation plan were reported to start arriving at a swiftly constructed federal immigration detention camp in the heart of the Everglades, Big Cypress Preserve, Wednesday night. The creation of the state is calling Alligator Alcatraz has drawn scorn and backlash around the country after state officials just weeks ago floated the idea of building a concentration camp around the wildlife of Florida, nature, alligators, and pythons. The governor and president claimed they would deter immigrants from trying to escape the concentration camp. Florida Attorney General James Aldermere said that the camp built in the midst of the natural preserve in eastern Collier County is being filled. On James' Twitter account Wednesday night, he posted the following: Alligator Alcatraz will be checking in hundreds of criminal illegal aliens tonight. Next stop, sending them back to where the fuck they came from, read his Twitter post. Environmentalists, tribal leaders, and everyday citizens maintain the facility will forever alter the footprint of the world's biggest, most fragile and fascinating ecosystems in the world. One of them. The Center for Biological Diversity says the negative implications of a facility in Big Cypress are palatable. Big Cypress, Burnett said, contains some of the darkest skies east of the Mississippi River, and we already have reports of folks around the site who have seen light pollution. It almost looks like the light of day from miles away from the site. That impact not only the enjoyment of tribal communities and those who visit there, but also impacts animals that hunt at night. She said, a watery wilderness lies between Naples and Miami, a serene Florida landscape and ancient cypress trees, rare orchards, and elusive species like the Florida panther, the mountain lion. Big Cypress is one of the last places that we can count on to protect our Florida panthers and mountain lions, as private lands north of the Everglades and Big Cypress are slowly eaten away by development for commercial and residential uses. So to put any kind of development in the middle of the safe haven for these endangered, almost on the brink of extinction, Florida panthers, mountain lions, is really a death knell for the many endangered species that live in these areas, including, obviously, the Florida panther, the mountain lion. Back-to-back weekends demonstrated drew hundreds outside the gates of an old jetport turned detention center. Ron DeSantis gave Trump a tour of the facility. Trump hinted that the detention center could become a permanent fixture in the Everglades. Environmental groups like Burnett Center for Biological Diversity tried to get a court order to get a judge to halt the project before July 1st, regardless of the plaintiff's self-imposed deadline passing. Eva Samples, with Friends of the Everglades co-plaintiff, say they are still very much in the fight. The crux of the argument to halt the facility from going any further revolves around decades-old National Environmental Policy Act. Indigenous tribes who call the Everglades home are also leading advocates for the land.
So these 4 food trucks were seen going into Alligator Alcatraz yesterday. Let that sink in a moment. These 4 food trucks went to Alligator Alcatraz yesterday to celebrate its grand opening. Now, it would not be good if you guys used all of their little websites that are right here in the pictures as well now. And it would not be good if you maybe made some comments or some bad reviews or what have you. And also, I know that Kona Ice is a nationwide food truck. Sure would suck if nobody ever went to them ever again. What do you think? Can we do it? Let's go.
The culinary industry getting dragged into this food trucks were spotted driving into Alligator Alcatraz. 2 are immigrant-owned. People are calling for boycotts of these food restaurant trucks seen entering Alligator Alcatraz concentration camp area. A TikTok video of the food trucks driving into Alligator Alcatraz concentration camp has gone viral, with many of the commenters demanding that people boycott the companies. The first was Canona Ice, followed by Chermoda, Elote Lovers, and Miss Cheesias. The caption below of the video reads, "They love our food but hate our people." People in the comments are calling for a boycott. Canona Ice was founded by Tony Lamb in 2007, while Miss Cheese's, a grilled cheese food truck, was started in the mid-2000s by Brian Millis and his wife. While we can't confirm where Tony, Brian, and Famina hail from, we can say that Brian and his wife love spending time in Mexico, per a 2012 interview with mobile food news. While ice cream and grilled cheese sandwiches aren't thought of as international fare, the other two trucks tell a different story. The bio section of Chimida's Instagram boasts more than 120 locations in South America and in the United States. They celebrated their 28th anniversary in March 2025 with a fun Instagram post that said their first store opened in Pedro La Cruz, Venezuela. Apart from the South American stores, Chimida can be found in Florida, New York, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Massachusetts, and Illinois. Comments have now been limited on their social media and Instagram. Elote Lovers started in 2011 as a family-owned food truck business called Miami Roasted Corn. They expanded their business in 2019 and became Elote Lovers, where they promised Mexican-style elotes, as well as crunch wraps and unique street eats. Elote Lovers, unlike their other competition, has addressed their controversial appearance at the Alligator Alcatraz in a post to the Miami Roasted Corn Facebook page. Florida vendor receives death threats after providing meals at Alligator Alcatraz build site. Workers at the Saratoga-based U.S. tent rental have received death threats and have been doxxed after the following company was tapped to provide food service for workers building Alligator Alcatraz concentration camp being constructed in the Everglades. U.S. tent rental has shut off its phones after receiving dozens of threats over the last few days. An employee said that the company has no responsibility for setting up the detention site and is only providing meals for its workers.